Well, hello and welcome to another one of my thoughts videos. Now, in the past we have been looking at a lot of different concepts. I'll just reiterate that we need to get information first, which sometimes, as an average Joe Blogs, is difficult to find sometimes. But with what we have, we need to understand it and then apply it, which is wisdom. Now, just recently, with the advent of the internet and YouTube, there's been a resurgence of the flat earth thinking. I am not a flat earther, I'm definitely a spherical earther. And why is this? Because I've been having a few discussions with people who find interesting anomalies around, and that gives them permission to mistrust absolutely everything and ditch all of the obvious concerning our planet and whether it's flat or not. There's too much information indicating that it's spherical and interesting things with the flat earth thing, but no evidences whatsoever. Now, a concept, because of that, a concept I've been looking at is that of perspective. For 600 years we have been using perspective theory and to draw things as artists, and in these discussions I found that basically for 600 years we've been basically wrong. Not tragically wrong, but I think it is time that we updated our perspective rules for something more truthful. Since the 12th and the 14th century in Europe, there were artists who painted fairly flat until they slowly but surely started to realize that if you had a tree and you drew it smaller and smaller, they noticed that things like architectural buildings and things got smaller the further away from you until you got to the horizon. And it took them 100 or 2 years to really formally get around to defining the perspective theory, and they did that in about the 15th or 16th century. Leonardo da Vinci and company and all those guys were then using the theory of perspective, and it's a theory that has been existing in the art world anyway for at least these 600 years or so. But unfortunately it's actually not that true. There's parts of it, it's good for a rough and ready sort of thing, but we need to amend it. Traditional theory that they worked out is that there's a horizon, there's a vanishing point, which we now should know is not true. And you draw lines out from that above or below the horizon, depending on how tall things are. If you have a tree this tall at this distance from the infinite horizon, you can draw something on between those lines and it will supposedly give you the right size until infinity. That is not actually quite true. Now, when I was down south of New Zealand, there is a very long straight piece of road that's 35 kilometers long, and it is very flat and consistent and straight. Now, what you notice is that the road does not go to a vanishing point. And if you are an observant artist, you will notice that it is not straight. Now, on the horizon, you will notice that you can still see the width of the road before it disappears. And if you take note of the lampposts that are there, the tops of them, they're way above you where you are, and then they go down and then they curve rapidly and like that. It's a logarithmic sort of decrease, but they never actually meet. On one side of the road there are hedges and trees, so that by the time you get down to the horizon it's dark and the lampposts disappear on the other side, but you can still see the gap of the road above the horizon and below it if you're observant. Now, for many centuries, in fact, sailors have known that the horizon they have around them in 360 degrees when they're out at sea, they know that there is a limit to that horizon. They know that it goes over the horizon because they can sometimes see a palm tree top and they know that it's about 20 kilometers away. But if they can see the island and the tree right on the horizon, they know and have calculated over the centuries that that is 7 nautical miles. It's been a well-known sailing fact that the horizon is at 7 nautical miles. That's about 12 kilometers or 9 or 10 miles on land. Now, it's not just academic for them. Let's have an argument about flat Earth or round Earth. Their life depended on it. They had to find islands and they had to survive, and they knew that they could calculate the distance depending what they could see over the horizon or above the horizon, how far an island was away, and they knew how far they had to row or sail. Now, I have seen that quite happily going to the beach. If you have all these rollers right on the beach front, they get smaller as you go away, but they don't actually get smaller according to traditional perspective theory. As you get to the horizon and very close to the horizon, you can still see them, and then all of a sudden at some point the waves rise above the horizon and you cannot see anymore. That's around about the 7 kilometers. If you were to provide the perspective lines in the traditional method, you would look at the detail, if you're a good artist, of the waves at the beach, the mid and further away. They get arithmetically smaller until they get to the horizon. That's because it is a curve. If you were to draw a line to get the perspective on the traditional numeric way, you would have those lines way up in the sky, and it would actually indicate a horizon above the horizon because it's not flat. There is no flat plane to draw your lines on. Only in outer space where you can imagine a flat plane can you have a horizon. Now, the flat earthers that you're going to have an argument with will then start to argue more and not recognize this. But when I was looking at the surfboarders, they had their surfboards like this, and their sails close to us are up above the horizon, and their eyes that are about the same level as in the traditional method are okay. Theoretically, according to the other one, you would have your little guy there with his surfboard down here at the horizon at 7 or 12 kilometers out. But they don't. They sit on top of the horizon with their entire sail above the horizon. That's because they go up and over the horizon and then they go down the other side. So the same thing happens with the container ships that go out of the port where I'm at. You can see the whole hull when they're close and with the big pile of containers on top. Then as they go further away, they go out. You can still see them 50 kilometers out. You can see the containers, but you can no longer see the hull. Sometimes they are bright white and black, so there's a good contrast. Sometimes they're green, and sometimes they're blue or red. Sometimes, not often, the hull is white, but the containers are often white and multicolored, so you can see just the containers above and nothing of the hull. Flat earthers will still try and debate with you and deny this, but you can go down to your local beach if you live like I am at the moment, right beside a beach. You can watch till your heart's content and see that happen. Now, when you're in an aircraft, you can, if you're smart, it's hard to see the curvature of the planet, but if you're up 20,000, 40,000 feet, you can actually see that. But unfortunately, at that layer, height, you're looking through quite a layer of dust and things, and so you can't see a very clear-cut horizon. But if you're a good artist, you can see that the clouds that are close to you have a certain level of detail. And then as they get away from you, they maintain a certain level of detail till about 2/3, when they start to get a little bit smaller and start to obscure each other and disappear. Once again, the level of fall off of detail is curved. It is not straight. If you drew a straight line, you would require a horizon well above the horizon, because it's not flat. It goes around the globe. Now, flat earthers will deny this once again, because they're not very good artists and can't tell the difference between and size of detail close until further away. But it's a definite cut-off. Plus, you can also see in the sky, where you've got the earth here, and even when you're by the sea, you can see when the sun's going down, you have clouds in layers obscuring it, and you can see the bottoms of clouds, bottoms of clouds, bottoms of clouds, because we're underneath them. And then the sun, as it goes down, can shine from above and illuminate the bottoms of the clouds, because it's on a curve here. You've got your cloud here, and the sun is able to shine under and up underneath the cloud. So there are some proofs of which you'll always argue with flat earthers, because they don't want to listen. But I propose that we adjust the 600-year-old deficient perspective rules. We have a horizon, yes. It disappears at about 7 nautical miles, 12 kilometres, about 9 miles. And we do not have a vanishing point. We have a vanishing line, where things disappear at the size they are at 12 kilometres away. And the lines are curved logarithmically, I think it is, like this. And this is obviously very exaggerated, but this is the way it should be. No vanishing point, no straight lines. That is flat earth. Wrong. We need to update it after 600 years.